welcome. Today is all about foam rolling. So it's a little bit different than the myofascial release because that can deal with specific trigger points. It's a much smaller surface area, so you're obviously affecting smaller tissue. And this is a foam rolling routine you can do pre-sport, post-sport, recovery, multiple times a week. We'll keep it under 10 minutes and we'll get in and out of here and hopefully get the body feeling good. So, and as far as foam rollers go, there's all kinds of different sizes, and as far as pressures, like this black one is very stiff, so that's going to provide the most amount of tension. So if you tend to run a little more tight, you may want to go with something a little more gentle. They are defined by colors, so this is going to be a little softer. But about a year ago, I discovered a brand called the Melt Method. And I'll put the link in the video notes. And I found this to be the most gentle and effective foam roller. I highly recommend it. It's not about pain when you're doing foam rolling, but it's really about increasing circulation, blood flow in the tissues. And I found that these are gentle and yet effective. So this is the one that we're gonna use. And you can find them on meltmethod.com. So this is my routine. I'm gonna start seated. I bend my knees, place my feet flat, and I'm actually just gonna warm up my thoracic spine. So I'm gonna place the foam roller. It's perpendicular to my spine. I have my hands behind my head, and I'm just gonna work little gentle back bends. Maybe you hear a few little cracks. That's kind of the synovial fluid moving in between the vertebrae. So I'm just kind of opening up my chest cavity, so I'm supporting my head and neck. And then finding that very gentle back bend. It doesn't have to be very far, depending on the flexibility that you have in your back, especially with extension, which may not be very much. So you can also link this to your breath. I would take an inhale, breathe in, and then as I exhale, that softening, I'm gonna allow the weight of my upper body to drape over the foam roll. All the way down that thoracic spine. So going kind of to that mid-back, just below the bra strap area, is about where you wanna go. So once you feel pretty good there and you've gotten all the creaks and cracks, we're gonna take the foam roll and we're gonna put it perpendicular. So I've got a long one, which I recommend, at least for this practice, versus a short one, for this reason, because you can kind of sit on here. So I've got my bum on there and I'm going to place the foam roll directly in the center of my spine with my head supported. So from here, I'm just going to allow just a gentle little rock, kind of side to side. The erectors, the very thick ropey muscles that are on either side of the spine tend to be really tight. So you can get a little bit of pressure on those muscles here. And it just feels really good to kind of traction the spine. So really nice. Just taking a few deep breaths. Breathing in and out. Once you set up, just notice the natural curve of your spine. Feel the pressure, the back of the head and the lumbar spine, the low back. Feeling the curves where the middle of the back make contact with the foam roll, and just take another few deep breaths. Nice. And then just when you're ready to come off this, using the hands to support you. It is a moving object, so just being mindful that you don't kind of roll off and hit on the floor. So next thing I'm gonna do, I'm gonna warm up the legs. So I like to start with working on the interior part of the leg, and then I find the exterior, the more tighter areas along the hips and buttocks. So I'm gonna place this foam roll long ways against my body. I've got my left hip on top. I'm gonna bend my left knee and I'm gonna place it right on the foam roll. So you wanna just position your body in a way that feels comfortable. Maybe that means supporting the head. And I'm just gonna put some little gentle pressure. Again, if you can find a spot that you're like, ooh, that's a little tighter, maybe stay there and hang out. But I'm gonna take a few passes and just kind of roll all the way up into my groin. So I tend to be a little tighter on my adductors, closer down toward the knee. So I'm gonna take a little pressure there, and the movement pattern here would be just to extend the lower leg. So just a little bit of bend and extend. I can also find some internal rotation of the hip and get a little bit of that quad as I work the foam roll. Up the leg, finding a little bit of added pressure. Again, it doesn't need to be a lot. It doesn't need to be super painful to find some relief. So again, if you find a spot that you're like, hey, I wanna hang out here a little bit more, you can always place the hand on for additional pressure. Even just finding in a spot and breathe, you notice there's layers of tissue and fascia, in our legs and our muscles. And so the more time that you're able to kind of spend, the deeper you're gonna go. So really we're just about maybe a minute or so kind of in each one of these positions, and then we'll move on. So I'm gonna work the quadricep, the top of the leg. I'm gonna come up onto hands and knees. This time I'm gonna take the foam roll and take it perpendicular. I'm working that same left leg. I'm using my forearms as if I were in a forearm plank to support my body. And I'm gonna find and explore, kind of inching my way up the quadricep all the way up into where the hip points are. And just kind of exploring that, really just looking for some blood flow. And if I find a spot there, I'm just going to bend and extend that same action. So I'm lengthening the quadricep muscle and then contracting it. Good, and then maybe I'll work that same pattern. Again, not dumping in the low back, so find that support. Nice strong base in the forearms. My right knee's there also to kind of help. And again, just spending about a minute here, which is great. This can be pre or post sport. So whether you're looking to just increase blood flow and get the body ready as the temperatures get colder, it's great to warm the body up sufficiently before you go out and hit the pavement or practice your sport. Nice, just about another couple breaths here, moving up and down the quad. All right, and then we're gonna work this side of the leg. So the IT, again, that band of tissue is meant to be really tight, right? There's a lot of power generated, and you want to just be mindful that it might be a little bit sensitive. So I'm gonna go on the side, still working that same left leg, extend my left leg, my left forearm is down, and I'm gonna start at the top of the hip and start to roll down the thigh. You may find this too much. You can always place a towel over the foam roll. The other option is I'm gonna kind of roll off of the IT band and get the connection point as it runs into my hamstring. So imagine that band of fascia, that tissue that runs down, right? There's a connection point to the top part of the leg, the quadricep, and also a connection point to the underside of the leg, the hamstring. So I'm gonna find that roll first as I'm kind of tipped back in between the side of my leg and the back of my leg, looking for just a little bit gentle rocking motions. So taking a full pass that way, working that connection between the IT band and the hamstring. And then I'm going to rotate toward the foam roll to find the same connection of the IT band and the quadricep muscle. So I'm not directly on the side of my leg, but I'm rolling toward that top side. Again, taking that same pass through, finding some breath. All right, so just exploring even these sensitive areas in your own body. Breathing, relaxing as much of the rest of the body as you can. Just about another breath or so. Good, and then we'll come off there. Let's go ahead and set it up for the second side. So now I'm gonna work my right leg. We'll start it the same as before, working the interior part of the leg, so getting into the adductors. My foam roll is along the long side of my body or the long side of the mat. Bending my knee, placing the inside part of my right knee now on the foam roll. I'm gonna just explore that tissue as I roll all the way up into the groin. Taking about a minute or so in each one of these positions. Again, finding a spot that may be a little sticky. Same on this side for me, it's down there by the knee. So I'm gonna put a little pressure, a little bit of internal rotation from the hip. I'm just gonna bend and extend the lower part of my leg again. Breathing here. Slow, fluid, deep inhales and exhales. Nice, about another breath or so. Obviously in your own space. Once you know this routine, you can come back to it time and time again, spending as much time or extra time you need on each position, depending on how you feel in your body. Moving right to the front of the leg, the quadricep. So I'm gonna take the foam roll perpendicular now. My left knee is down. I'm gonna place the top of my right thigh on the foam roll. And again, I'm just gonna kind of roll all the way up toward my groin or pelvis as I explore the tissues on the quadricep muscles. And then finding an area that may be a little sticky, I'm gonna find that movement pattern. So bending and extending the lower leg. Breathing in and out. Just exploring again, that little pressure. If you imagine the fascia system is like a sponge. And so we're just kind of squeezing all the hydration out of the tissue. And that, you know, when you squeeze the sponge, you get the water out. And then when you unsqueeze it, you imagine it's gonna kind of suck the hydration from the surrounding tissues, right? So increasing blood flow, really good. Nice, taking another few breaths. Again, just warming up the legs. Really nice. And supporting. Remember, I've got that nice base of support in my forearms. So supporting my upper body, strong core, so there's no pain in the low back. Okay, then let's work this side of the leg. So again, that IT, that band of tissue that tends to be tight, can be super painful. So just as before, still working that right side, I'm gonna work the connection point on my quad and the connection point here on my hamstring. So putting it perpendicular to my leg, I'm gonna roll and I'm gonna lean back, finding that connection point between the IT and the hamstring first. Taking that, it's a little sensitive. Just breathe. That's where that breath can be really powerful in just relaxing the rest of the body. When we hold our breath, we tend to tense up and be really tight, right? And then our muscles contract, which is the opposite effect of what we want, right? We want to relax the muscles, allowing that hydration to take place. So nice to spend time giving back to your body, right? And all of these tools that you can do at home in your own space. I'm gonna roll now to get that connection toward the quad. So a little bit of internal rotation, finding just kind of that, you imagine the quadricep muscles, there's 4, that they kind of cover the top of the leg, and then that IT band runs along the side. So I'm looking for that connection between quad and IT, finding a little bit of pressure, going all the way down to just above the knee, staying away from the bony part, so not directly on your knees, it's not gonna feel very good. Or when we get to the hips, kind of directly onto the hip bones, really just looking for that soft tissue. Good. Taking a few more deep breaths in your space. Again, I'm supporting my upper body with my arm. I'm not crunching my ears up by my shoulders, but just relaxing through the head and neck, using any kind of support that you need. Take another breath or two. Awesome. All right, so that goes for there. Options 2, you can also do the calves. I'll show you that really quick, but then we're gonna end with the glute. So sometimes I can even put both calves on the foam roll and just find a little bit of internal or external rotation, right? Or if I want to do one at a time, I cross my other ankle over the working leg. Again, I'll find a little bit of internal and external rotation, Nice, and just exploring the tissues. That's what's so great about foam rolling is it can be done rather quickly. I mean, we're kind of working the whole body in just a few minutes. All right, I'll switch to the other calf. Just again, finding a little bit of compression. And if you have a spot that tends to be a little stickier, maybe you want to stay there. The movement pattern here would be just flexing and pointing that foot, right? So we're contracting and elongating the calf muscle so that we're able to get a little deeper into the fascia. Awesome, take as much time as you need there, but we're gonna end with the hips. So I've got this kind of perpendicular to my booty, and I'm gonna find a figure 4 stretch, crossing my right ankle over my left thigh. From here, I'm literally just leaning in to my glute muscles, to my bum, to the hips, and exploring that tissue. So I'm able to get all along gluteus max, along the back that's close to the sacrum, that bony part, and then all the way over here into the glute med. It works on abduction, right? It tends to be a little tight, and it's just nice. So I've already have the muscles, the tissue, kind of in an extended position by being in this figure 4, so it's able to affect the tissue. Just again, exploring nice, gentle rocking movements. Come to the breath. About a minute is all you need. And then we'll just simply switch to the other side. So right foot's down, left foot's crossing over, and I'm just gonna lean over to the left. You notice I'm just supporting my upper body with my fingertips. Nice, strong, proud chest, so I'm not sinking or putting any undue pressure on my head and neck. Leaning all the way over into this left glute. He tends to be a little tighter for me. And then even exploring the tissues all the way up toward the sacrum, that kind of bony, flat part there in the back of your booty. All the way over, leaning in, exploring that tissue. Again, if you find a spot that feels a little bit more tension and you can hang out there for a minute, do so. These are just great tools and tricks that you can do at home to give back to your body. Awesome. So I'm gonna put both feet down. Let's just hang out in a forward fold for a minute. Shaking out the head and neck. If you're pre-sport, maybe make this a little bit more active and you have that gentle kind of bouncing motion. And if you're post-sport, maybe you want to stay here and hang out for just a little bit, finding a more static stretch. Press down to the feet, round the spine, roll all the way up. Awesome work. That's your down and dirty foam rolling for the body, pre or post-sport. Come back to it as often as you'd like.